What's your favorite scary movie?
Be like, I'm dying.
If some guy came up to me and said, "Hey, they guys," I'm like, "It's over and done. We're married now."
Someone in the movie, so I'm like, kiss. But
Oh God, what a sea of humanity.
Hello, and
Hi.
welcome in to 52/1994, the live movie conversation podcast where we discuss movies from the year 1994. I am your host, Cody, and I'm joined by my co-host this week, Tori.
Hi.
You're kind of vibing with this movie choice, I think.
I did this a little bit fully on purpose. I almost texted you. I was gonna say like $20, and I do my makeup like him.
Oh, I wish you would have. Well, welcome in. Tori's joining us this week. If this is your first time joining us, welcome in. We are so happy for you to join us today. Just to give you a little bit of a heads up about what we do, we watch movies from the year 1994, 52 of them to be exact, important movies released this year. We're typically doing those by monthly categories. Doesn't matter if they are good or bad. And then I have a guest host to talk about the movie with and interview them about it. So this month's even more on brand with this movie. This month's category we're doing is like comic book, sci-fi movies. This one falls more into the comic book genre, and we're talking about 1994's The Crow.
And the cat.
And the cat. Tori, have you ever seen this movie before?
No, I had never seen this movie before. Probably for the best for my mental health. I did have a moment where I was like, if I had seen this when I was a teenager, this would have been my entire personality.
Yeah, and I honestly, like, I saw this movie again way too young. I saw this when I was like 6 or 7,
6.
and yeah, my sisters were really into this movie,
Well, of course.
and I loved this movie, and they thought Brandon Lee was so hot.
He is.
Unfortunate,
They're not
but
wrong.
yeah, I mean, dude's a stud.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've never seen this movie. I have seen this movie. What'd you think? First impressions.
First impressions, I think it was so aggressively 90s. Like, I don't really know how to fully say that. It's like, unless you know what I mean, like, it was straight out of the 90s. And it was also a goth kid's fever dream.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, this movie is very, very 90s, and it's like a different sect of the 90s. Like you said, goth kids. This is a goth kid's wet dream. Because we already did some movies like Reality Bites that really hit up kind of like the grunge, the indie kids a little bit, and this one is for the goth kids.
Yeah.
and this one's a little bit for the action people too. There's a lot of action in this movie. And did you like this movie?
I did. Yeah.
Okay,
it was not what I was expecting, to be totally honest. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I think I was thinking it was going to be more like, not actually darker, because it's a very dark movie. It handles a lot of really intense stuff, but maybe something like, I was expecting the hero to be less hero-y.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a good guy. He's just on a revenge mission. Like, and for some reason in my mind, I had it that he was like just a legitimate bad guy and just did only bad things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very wrong. I'm pleasantly surprised by that.
Got some technical difficulties there. Sorry about that the chat was not on the screen. I got that fixed. I switched something over and I had to do everything within like a 5-minute time span. So
you're doing great.
We're doing great here. Well, I don't know why, but I had this movie has a lot of like triggering elements to it. Definite trigger warning for like sexual assault, or there's some also, it's just crazy in some of the,
a lot of death,
a lot of killing, a lot of eyeball stuff, like a lot of weird stuff here. So if that's not what you're into, or obviously I hope nobody's into all those things, but like there's definitely a trigger warning on this stuff. I also want to talk about I don't know. I was going somewhere with this, and
Okay.
I'm a little under the weather too, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
please forgive me. No, it's all good. God, I love the eyeball stuff. Yeah,
I love the trigger warning for Brandon Lee making me feel compassionate. That's accurate. Like,
Yeah.
and they played into that so much. Like the amount of scenes where he was shirtless, and I'm like, he doesn't need to be shirtless, but at the same time, he needs to be shirtless.
I do not. Okay, again, I watched this movie a lot, especially when I was a kid. Maybe I'm,
It's not gratuitous, but it's like when he comes out of the grave and then like basically they just strip his shirt off of him, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
obviously I didn't think these things when I was younger, but I would like Brandon Lee is a sexy man. Like that is
Yes.
a good looking dude. I really wish that he would have been around a little bit longer for us
Yeah.
with some unfortunate ties to this movie. So let me talk about this movie real quick. Let me give like the little details and everything, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the scenes and stuff that we liked and more about that. So this movie's called The Crow. It came out May 11th, 1994. It is directed by Alex Proyas. It was written by David Shaw and John Shirley, based on the 1989 comic book series by James O'Barr. This cast says Brandon Lee, as we have already talked about, as Eric Draven, Rochelle Davis as Sarah, who's kind of our narrator and for this movie, Ernie Hudson, famous Ghostbusters, Sergeant Albrecht, Michael Wincott, who I love as like a 90s villain guy as Top Dollar.
So good.
I love him so much. Bai Ling is in this as Micah, his half sister, I believe.
Half sister
Micah,
slash sexual interest.
Yeah. Anna Levine as Darla. David Patrick Kelly as T-Bird, Angel David as Skank, Lawrence Mason as Tintin, Michael Massey as Fun Boy, Tony Todd, who is Candyman, is Grange, John Polito as Gideon, and Sophia Shinas as Shelley Webster. She's very briefly in the movie, but do want to give credit to Shelley here. And synopsis that I pulled straight from Google is: the night before his wedding, musician Eric Draven and his fiancée are brutally murdered by members of a violent inner city gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the gothic mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. Tracking down the thugs responsible for the crimes and mercilessly killing them, Eric eventually confronts head gangster Top Dollar to complete his macabre mission. This movie had a budget of $23 million and it made $94 million. And reviews were actually very, very high for this. It Rotten Tomato score of 84%, IMDb a 7.5 out of 10, and Letterboxd a 3.7 out of 5. Roger Ebert gave this movie 3.5 stars out of 4. He said it's a stunning work of visual style, the best version of a comic book universe I've seen, and Brandon Lee clearly demonstrates in it that he might have become an action star had he lived. Here's a negative review by David Anson of Newsweek. He said, it succeeds in bringing O'Barr's comic book vision to life, but there's little else going on behind the graphic razzle-dazzle and the moody, ominous soundtrack.
I disagree.
I disagree too.
Rude.
Okay. But that wasn't even like the harshest, like there weren't a lot of harsh reviews about it. I think a lot of people either saw this as very mid or really good. There is a little bit of a legacy for this franchise. There were 3 sequels. I believe 2 of them went like straight or to do DVD. There was also a Canadian television show that I do remember watching when I was a kid called The Crow Stairway to Heaven. There is a remake. So this is a topical year for this. The remake is coming out this year starring Bill Skarsgård as the titular Crow. FKA Twigs is in this movie. I'm excited for it.
Same. Yeah. I when I was watching it, I had a moment where Top Dollar, I was like, I know his face and I don't know why I know his face. So of course I'm IMDbing, and the first one that came up was like The Crow 2024. And I was like, excuse me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I think that Bill Skarsgård is the perfect person to play
I
Arrow.
kind of like that this era or this like I want Bill Skarsgård to do that. He has done some terrifying roles.
I mean, he's Pennywise. Like,
Yeah,
come
he is
on.
Pennywise. He was in Barbarian. I don't know if you saw Barbarian or not. You would love Barbarian, I think. So definitely watch that. But if Bill Skarsgård, I think he was in the latest John Wick as a villain. Somebody has already mentioned John Wick in here. But I like this, like him being an action star. He's ripped. He's kind of attractive in like this gothic, scary kind of way. Like,
yeah, and like I feel like he has the same like kind of presence. Like I feel like The Crow was like a cult classic. It has all of the elements to make it a cult classic, and Bill Skarsgård is a kind of cult classic actor. He can really just play into those roles really well.
And just commit and just be as crazy as he can want. I mean, when you are Pennywise, that's kind of the roles that you're going to end up getting. You could just commit and be crazy and have fun. And that seems like the kind of guy that he is. So, Brandon Lee's death, I guess, is also a legacy that we want to talk about. And we've seen some more recent things based on that Alec Baldwin movie that was supposed to come out, that Western where the filmmaker
I have no
died.
idea about Brandon Lee's death. Can you please explain?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We can he died, to be totally honest. You're bumming me out.
Yeah. So Brandon Lee actually passed away or was accidentally killed during the making of this movie.
Of this movie?
Of this movie. Yeah. There was a scene in which he was shot and I don't think a real bullet, or maybe there was the remnants of a bullet were still lodged in the gun when they fired a blank, and it ended up shooting him in the abdomen, and he ended up dying because of that. So,
and they still released the movie?
Yeah.
That's
a big part of this was like he had shot most of the scenes for his movie. And with his fiance's permission, they were given permission to finish the movie. Like I said, they were mostly done. They did have to edit some things around. They did have to shoot some scenes with the stunt double Chad Stahelski, who's most famous for making the John Wick movies, but he was the stunt double for Brandon Lee at the time. And then they had to cut some scenes completely. They added that Sarah narration too. That wasn't supposed to be in the movie, so they had to work around some of these things. But a little bit of not a fun fact, but like this shoot was actually kind of considered cursed because like the first day they shot, Carpenter suffered severe burns after his crane hit live power lines. A truck caught on fire. A sculptor crashed his car through the studio's plaster shop. Crew member drove a screwdriver through his hand, and that was all before Brandon Lee got shot. So,
wow. So that's falling just right in the cultural timeline as like The Omen.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, but they still released it. It still made a profit. I do believe Brandon Lee's mother, who is the former wife of Bruce Lee, also sued the studio and got some money for the wrongful death as well. So
okay, that makes sense. I thought you were gonna say she sued her for releasing it, and I was like, but okay. But for the wrongful death, that makes sense.
Yeah, wrongful death on the studio's part and everything. So it's it looms over this. So if I know I've told a couple people that he did die during the making of this, and it is a shock to them. But in '94, that was like a big deal. Like teenage girls were sobbing in high school and all. Yeah.
I remember the day that like Paul Walker died, because that happened when I was, I think, a senior in high school, and like it was along those lines, like just girls like crying in the hallway. It was like, holy shit. Yeah. I was like, and me who had never watched a Fast and the Furious movie, I was like, who? Ooh. Okay. Somebody died. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
so sorry to
that's
break the
why.
news to you that Brandon Lee,
Yeah.
passed away during the
Thank
making of this movie. Because I do think that he would have went on to make much more and good stuff and been an action
Yeah.
star. I mean,
And actually that makes total sense because as I was sitting there watching, I was like, why wasn't this guy in anything that I know?
yeah,
And it's like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense then. Okay.
he
Wow.
could have had like a Keanu Reeves career. He could have like that's what I
Yeah.
think of immediately when I'm thinking of this guy.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think that's a
maybe
good
Johnny
comparison.
Depp career, something like that. Especially
Mhm.
later Johnny Depp. So
Mhm.
would have been interesting to see. But any other things, questions that we're leaving out? The chat is active today. I'm not able to.
Yeah, they
I
are.
haven't been able to keep up, but I'm very sorry. I'm sure we'll cover some of your ground here. Let's go ahead and break down the movie a little bit. Do you have any scenes that really stuck out to you that you wrote down,
Yes,
or?
definitely. The first one that comes to mind is that like final sword battle on the top of a Gothic cathedral. And like that to me really sums up what I feel like is the overall feeling of this movie, which is goth kid's wet dream. Like it's in the rain, it's this giant, beautiful Gothic cathedral, and a sword fight is happening. What? Like I questions. I have so many questions, but also I just kind of had to like roll with it because I was like, yeah, no, that fits.
I do. I love that
Yeah.
church. I love that church fight scene.
Mhm.
Because you get that sword fighting scene with Top Dollar and the Eric, but you also have his half sister going after the crow
Yeah.
getting shot by Grange, like
Yes. And
Albrecht
then
shows up.
when the crow gets his half sister in the eyes, it literally as I was standing there, the crow started to attack her, and I said, "Go for the eyes." I was like, "Get that bitch in the eyes! Come on!"
Get her in the eyes.
And it happened, and I was like, "Amazing! That's perfect."
I don't know why they like
um,
to. Oh,
the
now I know why they like to go after the eyes. The
yeah,
soul is in the eyes. Isn't that
of
what they say?
course.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked that there was so much like creepy kind of poetry. I mean, like when the crow entered into the pawn shop and he's just like reciting Edgar Allan Poe, beautiful, beautiful. I was like, this is cheesy, but in the best way.
Just more, just again, like you're saying, gothic wet dream. Like,
Yeah.
hey, kids love Edgar, or these kids will love Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Let's just give them that.
You know, the director or the writers are just like, oh my God, they're going to fucking love this.
They're creaming in their pants
Yes.
right now.
Those are
Uh,
definitely two of the things that stuck out to me.
yeah, I wrote down pretty much like each one of the deaths of the
Mhm.
4 guys. In particular, I really liked. I mean, it's weird to say that I liked a death scene,
No,
but
it's
there
not.
were 2 that
Both.
really stuck out to me, and that was Fun Boy's
Mhm.
death scene and T-Bird's death scene.
Mhm.
Mostly T-Bird's because he has that part where he is again, here we go, talking about poetry and talking about the literature, and he's reciting words from Paradise Lost.
Okay, that's where that's from. Thank you.
Yes,
I was like,
yes.
this can't just be like a random thing that they wrote for this.
Yeah, he's reading and it keeps doing the flashbacks to the assault and
Mhm.
them being killed. But I really enjoyed that, especially because it's like one thing I noticed is that every way that people die in this movie is kind of
Mhm.
reflective of that character. So,
Yeah.
Fun Boy he's a junkie, and Fun Boy goes out with all those needles in his chest, and
Mhm.
T-Bird is like the demolitions guy, and he goes out at a blaze of glory, blown up with that
Yeah, and
grenade
Tintin with the
between his legs.
knives.
Tintin with the knives. Skank getting thrown out the window is just whatever, but
Skank
that's how
didn't really have a personality to me aside from just scared.
and
Like, Homeboy's just scared.
and couldn't understand him at all,
Yeah.
like half the time.
That one line where like the bad guy was like, I feel like we need to record him and then watch him on slow-mo. That got me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hope that was improv because that would be great.
that would have been really funny if it was. One thing, it wasn't a scene, it was just like a little detail, and I don't think it's not when we're introduced to Top Dollar, but at one point he's like sitting at his ridiculously long table with his girlfriend slash half sister, just lying on it, and he has the biggest pile of cocaine next to him. Like, it's like a mound of mashed potatoes. And I'm just like, oh, that's cocaine. Like, Jesus Christ. Okay, this is what we're doing here.
You sure it's not cornstarch? No, I'm kidding. I
Is
didn't
it
even
movies? I
I
don't
didn't
know.
even notice that amount of cocaine
It's
next to him.
like a pile. It's the size of my head.
I still don't. I'll get into it later. In my what the fuck kind of stuff. No, I'll go back to the T-Bird scene I liked, just because of the whole, like, the way it was set up and him going back and going through. He's like, oh yeah, we killed that girl and you're dead and you're not supposed to be here. And he goes out reciting that line from Paradise Lost. But then back to Funboy and Darla. I hate Funboy. I feel like Funboy is like the worst of the worst of
Yeah.
the people. They're all bad because they're all committing sexual assault and they're also murdering and all this stuff. But Funboy, for whatever reason, just really drove me over the edge.
He's sleazy.
Yeah.
That's what he's like, extra sleazy.
But I really like that scene with Darla after he's kind of killed Funboy. And what does he say to Darla? I have it.
It's like, mother is the name of God it's like on the lips and hearts of children.
Yeah, mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Do you understand? Yeah. Morphine is bad for you. Your daughter. I loved the
morphine is bad for you. That cracked me up. And then the whole like cigarettes will kill you also cracked me up. Because that was just so like, I feel like that's really peak 90s anti-drug campaigning.
Yes.
It's like, listen, even this guy who's murdering people is saying like, don't do drugs, kids. Stay in school.
And I think that also comes from British literature as well. Oh. That line that he says about mother's the name for God on the lips and hearts of all the children.
Huh. I did like that.
From Vanity Fair, the novel Vanity Fair. Yeah.
I read that. You'd think that I'd remember that. No,
it's okay. Somebody said, did he suck the drugs out of her arm? Yes, that's exactly what he was doing. He was taking the drugs out of her arm.
Which is sick. Like, that's a really cool power. And it's like, you know what you could do also, instead of just going after revenge? You could then post up at a hospital and just help everybody ODing. Just like suck the drugs right out of them. They'll be fine.
He's on a mission. He only has to deal with 4 people. He didn't even have to kill Top Dollar. He was ready to go. He was ready to go, but then they kidnapped Sarah and he was like, I got to finish this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
I did like I'm so sorry about Jinx. I don't know what to do with
do not worry. It's on brand.
I did, and I completely just forgot what I was gonna say. You know what? I lost it. It'll come back to me maybe.
That is okay. Another scene that I particularly liked is when he visited Albrecht. I liked their chemistry together. Even though like those guys never knew each other. That is one of the weird things I see. It's like he has this nice rapport with this man who he's never met in his life. And he just knows that this guy helped out. He helps out Sarah. He was with Shelley when she died for 30 hours. And like, I just love that scene between the two of them. He takes the pain away from him that he witnessed all of Shelley dying for 30 hours, took that away from her.
I didn't really pick up on that until that like final scene where he's fighting with Top Dollar and he like transfers it to him. And I was like, oh, that's what he was doing. I thought that he was just, because like his reaction to touching the cop was so over the top. And I was just like, okay, I understand like it's an emotional thing to like see your fiance like that, but I didn't realize that he was picking up on the pain, the physical pain, until like the end.
Yeah, when he gives it to Top Dollar.
And I just remembered what I was going to say. I liked that they gave the Crow a fatal flaw. Like the fact that he could be taken down if you took out the Crow, and then he can like feel the pain and everything. I really did enjoy that, because otherwise he's just like almost a Mary Jane, like can't be killed. Everything's perfect. He's like, there's nothing wrong really. I mean, except for his, debilitating mental state. but that's almost like an asset to him. So I really did like that they like found a way to take him out and make it
Yeah.
more dangerous for him. Because otherwise you're
Huh.
not worried about him at all. It's just like, oh, he's just going to go on a rampage and kill.
Which was awesome. But yeah, I did like that too. And you get that scene in the church with him and Albrecht, and he's like, I thought you were, invincible. He's like, I guess I'm not.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even seem that like Eric really knows what he's capable of, or didn't know that he was tied to the crow. And I don't think the crow gives you many instructions. And
No.
I also think that upon like doing some research into this movie, there was a section of this movie where he actually had somebody that kind of gave him the rules of like, hey, here's what you're put back here for, here's what you're capable of, and they took that all out of the movie.
And which I can understand. That's a lot of like exposition, and this feels like more of an action movie than that.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, he had like this I forget what they called him in the movie. Maybe it's in my notes later, but yeah, he had like a spirit guide that could actually walk and talk and was like human like, that did tell him what to do. Yeah,
I wish I had
guy.
one of those. Can I sign up for one of those?
You just get a crow.
Just I would take one of those too. You know what?
Yeah,
I
yours
just want
is your
somebody just coming around and telling me what I should do. Like, this is how you do your taxes.
A crow to do my taxes would be nice. That would be so helpful. Let's see. The shootout in the boardroom, I think, is a pretty good. And I think that's really my last scene that I had written down was him in the boardroom, and everybody just shooting bullets at him. Growing up, that is when I thought Brandon Lee died, because that's what kids told me. They were like,
which one it was?
No, the scene is not in the movie, and I believe it was a scene in the church. The final fight scene is when, but they didn't use that scene, obviously.
That's for the best, I think.
Yeah,
a little bit more respectful.
But I grew up thinking that I was seeing Brandon Lee get killed in that scene. Like, one of those mini bullets was the one that killed him, and I saw it. That was like
that's not traumatic at all for a child.
No, but I also kind of thought it was cool. I was like, oh man, I saw like a guy die. That's weird and crazy. People will think I'm really cool for knowing that.
Sick, bro.
That was not. Yeah, I know, right? I'm a weird kid. I was a weird kid. But I like that, and that's when he finally, finishes his task and kills Skank after Skank's been hiding there as bait. Feels like a little worm on a gigantic fish hook.
Yeah, which like good. I'm glad you feel that way. Skank. Yeah. What a nickname also. Skank.
I wish I want to, like, out of the 4 nicknames, out of all the nicknames, which one do you like the best?
Okay, as somebody with a T name, there are so many options for me.
You could be T-Bird.
T-Bird. T-Bird would be really cool. I also like that his nickname like had to do with cars, because I feel like he was like the getaway driver most of the time.
Yeah.
You see him in a car a lot, and then his death was also car themed, sort of. So I guess I'd have to go with although Top Dollar is a sick. It's a sick
Top
nickname.
Dollar is a sick nickname. It didn't really fit him in my mind, though.
No.
He seems like a gothic prince, like with his long, straight black hair.
It should be like Dracula,
Yeah.
Dracula should be the nickname there. But I think I'd have to go with T-Bird. I do have a lot of T nicknames already, so just add T-Bird to the list. Done.
You're T-Bird.
And you would go with Top Dollar?
I'm going with Top Dollar. I like Top Dollar. I kind of like Fun Boy, but again, my hatred for Fun Boy the character really motivates me away from that. So
that's fair. And to me, Fun Boy sounds like it definitely sounds like he's, the drug dealer of the crew. It's like, do you really want to be the drug dealer? And like, I know that I am comic relief a lot in my friend group, but do I want my nickname to be based on that? No, I'm deeper than that.
Tori Fun Boy. That's my favorite. All right. Any other scenes that really stuck out to you?
I think every time, and I don't know, it's not really a good thing to be sticking out to me. I feel like it's just a result of the 90s CGI. But it was like every time that they were falling, I felt like I could really tell that it was like the actors on a lift of some sort. It looked like they were like not falling down, but like you're watching them fall from below, and it looked like they were being lifted up in reverse.
Yeah, so and it looks even weirder, especially if you see the one where Eric is falling out of the window. Everything that is not him. His face is superimposed on somebody else there, so it looks extra weird there too.
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense. So that's his stunt double. That makes
yes, that is his stunt
sense.
double there. So it looks as, but I agree with you. There are some weird like visual things in here when he falls. Oh, man, there's one time he just falls off a building into like trash before he kills Tintin. I love that. I love when he just laughing.
I do too.
Backward.
Yeah, I feel like that was him realizing like, oh, I can't die. I can't get hurt. Like, awesome. Can't wait to go on my revenge mission. I did like Tintin's death scene. I feel like that was the first kind of like emotional release, because Tintin also was just such an asshole. Like I know you didn't like Funboy. I kind of didn't like Tintin the most.
Oh, I get it.
I was like, he like owns the fact that he is a complete asshole and he doesn't give a shit. And like maybe there's some merit in that, but it's like, no, like you suck, dude. It's like, don't be surprised that somebody's trying to kill you. And like maybe it was his arrogance too. I was like,
as despicable as each one of the members of the gang are, they did a really good job. I like. They were really, really good at being really, really bad. And good for them.
They made us all hate them. So they did a really good job.
Yeah, I did. And I think on this rewatch too, like it's not a scene that is rewatchable. It is not a scene that I hope to see ever again. But like all those flashbacks of them breaking into their apartment and assaulting and killing, like that's just a rough watch. And
it was. I appreciated that they didn't show it in graphic detail, because this was something I was kind of thinking about after the movie. Was like, there is such a fine line to walk when it comes to that, because it's like, you as a director, I'm sure that you kind of want to show the reality of like these things happen and it's really really awful and it's really really bad, but then at the same time it's like you don't want to perpetuate that violence that already happens in real life on screen.
Yeah.
So it's like walking that line. I feel like they kind of did a pretty good job with it here, because it is shocking and it is scary, but it's not showing maybe the actual act. And maybe that's how they made it less. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that it was a good depiction of an assault scene.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
And I think, and somebody just said this in chat, like the flashbacks they didn't care for, to be honest. It made sense, but it felt like a quick cut. I think it also has to do with this actually being one whole scene that they had to spread out over the course of the movie, because they didn't have to they couldn't refilm it, and they didn't want to do any of that stuff. So I think that's why it was kind of used as much as it was, and in the way like the POV view and all that stuff. Like I think
that's a good point. Yeah, that POV view would have been entirely after.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's impressive that they were able to finish this movie still.
Yes.
So
very true. Yeah.
All right. Was there a favorite character that you had, or was there somebody that stole scenes that you really liked, or? And it's okay to pick the obvious.
Is it okay to pick Eric?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I do think like he did a phenomenal job in my mind. Like really, really did a good job. He committed. He like, there were so many times that I was like, oh wow, like this is over the top. This is crazy. But he fucking committed. And I think the same can be said for Top Dollar. And I think that when I was like looking up his IMDb to see like, where else do I know this guy from? His description literally starts off with like, he is renowned amongst actors for being so committed to his roles. And I'm like, that comes through. So I do think that Top Dollar. I think he stole a lot of the scenes that he was in. And they also just made his character so quintessentially ridiculously villainous. He has a banquet-length black table in this like weird penthouse in Detroit. And then Detroit, he has a freaking case of swords, like French doors that open up and you just see swords. Like that is villain behavior.
Above like a club that only plays like Nine Inch Nails music
Yeah.
too. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
No.
Other than that, I think that the little girl she stole some of the scenes for me.
Yeah, no, Sarah was really good. I liked her. Again, I think Albrecht is another guy that I want to talk about because he's got really good chemistry with that girl, Sarah. He's got good chemistry with Eric's character. And he's all cops are bastards, but
So I had that thought too. I was like, ACAB, but this guy's pretty cool.
But this guy's okay, right? Like this guy's he gets a pass. No, Ernie Hudson's wonderful in this.
Chat just said something that I thought the first time that I saw Eric's name as well. The fact that they named him Eric Draven or D Raven. It's so cheesy. It's so cheesy. But then when I found out that it was based on a comic book, I was like, okay, it makes perfect sense. Like comic books are notoriously cheesy like that. So I agree. Like it took me out of it for a minute to be like, Raven.
Raven. Yeah.
Really?
It's pretty rough. Pretty rough. No, I don't feel on this rewatch again. I don't feel like Brandon Lee was given a lot of dialogue in this movie, because it is an action movie. There tends to be, but like there are some lines that he delivers that I just thought were just really well delivered. Like there's one where he is talking to, Albrecht in his apartment, and he says things like, don't mind, he's talking to him about his wife and him getting a divorce, and he's like, I used to think these things were so trivial, and they weren't trivial at all or whatever. And the way he delivered it, I thought it was just, I don't know, it was very charming. And then even when he's like, I guess I'm not invincible anymore, like I feel like he's just a charming guy. And again,
that and the whole like when they first meet and he says, don't move or I'll like move and you're dead, and he goes, well, I am dead and I will move. I was just like, that was a sick line. I was like, in his mind he's just going like, I ate. He's like
I love it. Yeah, I thought the police always said freeze.
Yeah.
Another line he gives back to him during that. No, I really liked him a lot. Super sad. And that's okay. Quotes, any quotes that really stuck out to you?
I think definitely like the one that I just said, because it just kind of made me chuckle. And then every time that literature was quoted, I think I appreciated the Edgar Allan Poe one more because I instantly knew it. I both appreciated and also thought that it was super cheesy, the poetry that was being read. But now I know that it was like from Paradise Lost. I'm like, that makes so much more sense. So do you know, were those references to literature in the comic books, or did they just add those for the movie?
I am not sure. I've never read the comic version of this. I'm kind of sad about it, but no idea.
I think those were the biggest ones for me. What about you?
I think the classic one is Can't Rain All the Time, which comes back from his band, whatever, the Hangman's
something joke.
That's what I thought. Hangman's Joke, and I was like, not a great band name. Bad band name, definitely. Would not listen to. There was also a time when he is talking to Funboy. I think he shoots Funboy, or Funboy shoots him, and Funboy says, Jesus Christ, and Eric says, Jesus Christ, stop me if you've heard this one. Jesus Christ walks into a hotel.
Yes.
He hands the innkeeper 3 nails and he asks, can you put me up for the night? And I was like,
I love that. I laughed at that. It was just like, as somebody with like slight religious trauma, I was like, I appreciate this joke. Thank you.
Hang me up for that. Yeah. Victims, aren't we all? I think he says that whenever he kills Tintin. I like this quote from Top Dollar. He says, my daddy used to say every man's got a devil and you can't can't rest till you find him. I like that line. And then when he is killing Skank, he's like, I guess it's not a good day to be a bad guy, huh, Skank? And Skank says, I'm not Skank. And he says, that's Skank over there. Skank's dead. He's like, that's right.
That was funny.
Skank's dead.
He's like, that's not me.
I'm not Skank.
Who's
Skank
Skank?
Shrek.
I've never met him.
Great, classic. I think I already said the ones we talked about the Don't Move, and I move and I'm dead. Yeah, I think I hit on my other ones. Any others
Yeah,
that we're
I
missing maybe in chat? That's also why Jesus Christ Never Played Hockey kept getting nailed to the boards.
Thank you. Thank you,
Jeez.
Chad.
Jeez. All right. Biggest laugh, cry, scare, or thrill?
Oh man, there weren't many big laughs at all in this movie. For me, I'm like they were mostly just like small chuckles. And the
Mhm.
number one was Skank being like, "I'm not Skank.
I'm not Skank.
He's,
Skank's right
he's
there.
over there." That was probably, and then the Jesus joke. Those were my like two main chuckles, I think. Something about action movies to me, because I know that they're action movies, all of the like crazy gunfight scenes don't really thrill me. I'm just kind of like, oh, this is chaos.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a, I don't know, overstimulation situation where I'm just like, there's lots happening. I feel like a cat watching like Bugs in a Light or something, just like. But it made me really, really happy and satisfied when the crow just pecked out that girl's eyes. I was like, yes. The biggest surprise for me was when you see the eye in that bowl. When first you just see something on fire in this bowl, and then it's the eye, and I was just like, why?
So many eyes. There's too many eyes in this. She even gives him an eyeball whenever the pawn shop owner guy. She throws the eyeball to him. That was
I'm really like I'm hoping, because we only see two eyes in the movie, and like I know that it came from that girl. So I'm hoping that it's only the one person's eyes, but you never know. Maybe they have like a whole stash of eyes. Maybe they have a cabinet of swords. Maybe they have a cabinet of eyes somewhere.
I wouldn't put it past them. These two people are very sick people.
Vampire coded, you know?
Yeah, definitely vampire coded, which I'm gonna have you on for a vampire movie later.
Excellent. Is it Interview with the Vampire?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes. Excellent.
The only other part that I said, like, it did make me really sad when Eric does take the pain from Albrecht. But very satisfying at the end when he does give it all to Top Dollar, and then just that relief after it's all said and done, and he's like leaning on Shelley's grave, and like it's all over at that point. I liked that.
Ooh, the visual of Top Dollar's death is something. Like the fact that there were like 3 spikes in like through his mouth and through his like chest, and I was like, woohoo.
And the blood pouring out through the rain gutter thing, like that was really cool.
That is one of the things that, like I said, like I did not know this was based on a comic book until after I looked it up. I feel like there are some movies that it's like you can tell it's based on a comic. Like Scott Pilgrim comes to mind. It's like they intentionally make it super comic booky. But this one, I feel like once you know it's from a comic book, that's when I started seeing everything as like the pains in a comic. That one, that's a comic book pic. Like that's a full page.
That's a splash page. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, so we might get some heat in chat for this stuff, but what do you think is the most ridiculous moment or most ridiculous thing about this movie? I mean, there's a lot of ridiculousness to this.
There's a lot of ridiculousness. It's true. Oh man, it's so hard to kind of just pinpoint one, because I feel like I just suspended once it got into it a little bit, I'm like, I'm just gonna have to get over my cringe factor with this movie. I just have to like let it go. I feel like a lot of maybe the clubbing scenes were a little gratuitous, and I feel like those are also the ones that kind of made me feel like, oh, this is taken straight out of the 90s. Like with just like the bands on stage and like the mosh pits happening, I was like, this kind of scene only happens in 90s movies. And
and this is Woodstock 94. They try to bring back Woodstock this year, and it was a lot of these type of bands doing this. So I like to think oh my gosh,
they're still going with the Jesus jokes.
They're still talking about the Jesus jokes. maybe people in chat know this. Maybe you have an idea about this. Why are they burning the city down every year? Like, what is the point of
That's
blowing up
such
these buildings?
I didn't even think about that because that's such a good question. There is no point. And that is also so comic book coded. It's like they're just villains to be villains. Like just let them do their thing. They're just having fun.
Yeah, I was like, why are they kicking these people out of their apartment? Like what? Like I still don't get it.
They're
I
just the
don't get the
generic like
motivation.
TM bad guy, you know?
Yeah.
They're just doing everything bad that they can think of. There was one line that stuck out to me because I'm from like a small town on Lake Erie. So when they were like, I heard that Lake Erie caught on fire once, man, I wish I could have been around to see that. I immediately Googled it. I was like, did Lake Erie catch on fire? And it did in
It did?
1969. Yeah.
Oh, I thought
It
it
was
was
actually-
the river or whatever, the
Well,
Cuyahoga.
it was technically the Cuyahoga, but that feeds into Lake Erie. So like the fire just kind of went into the lake.
That's
And I was
pretty
just
awesome.
like, that tracks because I know that the lake is better now, but like they still give out warnings like, hey, don't swim on this beach. The E. coli count is too high. Gross.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't think that
All the time.
I just assumed that Lake Erie was fine.
No. Like back in the 80s, it was really, really bad because they were just dumping like sewage and like Detroit was dumping all of its like motor refuse and stuff into it.
Sounds like
And
a
then there was like
Michigan
a
thing to do.
big effort to clean it up, but it's still like it's not the best.
Yeah.
Yes. I will survive
somebody-
nuclear war because I swam in it a lot. I'm fine.
Somebody said for the insurance money, that's why they're burning down all of Detroit for the insurance. But I don't know. I don't like. I mean,
Could
that's
be
what I thought of.
How else
but-
do you fund that cocaine habit?
I just think that's a silly scheme. Like that is a weird criminal scheme
It's
to just set
crazy.
an entire city on fire.
Also, following up on that, like why are they kicking out their tenants? Because that was the whole like she created this like petition to I don't know if it was like stop the rent hikes, but it was like stop kicking out tenants. But it's like if they're paying you rent, why are you just kicking them out?
Yeah,
If
so
they're
I
giving
didn't
you
even get
money.
that part about it. Like I didn't even understand why they were attacking them in the first place. So
Oh yeah, that took me until they like explained it and everything. So it was like she started a petition to get them to stop either kicking out tenants or stop raising the rent or something. And that's when they came as like enforcers of top dollar and were like, heard you made a petition. Heard you're trying to get us to stop doing this. Guess what? No.
yeah, no, it's crazy. They have a nice apartment though. Like that's a pretty big apartment.
That
I
was a
don't know if
sick
it's
apartment.
nice because nothing in this city of Detroit, and I don't know, Detroit might have gotten better, but like this part of Detroit does not look great. And
No.
but their apartment was huge.
It was, and it was nice. Like that window that he fell out of was so cool.
That
I
was
loved it.
cool.
But yeah, why and then like the news that came out and was like it's like for the last like 10 years the night before Halloween has been known as Devil's Night in the inner city of Detroit. And I'm like, could you imagine living in like the suburbs of Detroit and just hearing that and being like, what the fuck?
Yeah, from 84 to 94, nobody goes there. Do they trick or treat? Is trick or treat still on the
Just the
on
night
Halloween?
after everything's burnt down, so the night after you're just going around and asking these now newly homeless people for candy.
That's very cool. Very
Please.
cool. Maybe I should have my own Devil's Night. Who knows? Let's see. Is Detroit actually Gotham? I mean, it seems more Gotham than
Could be.
a real city.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like a fictional version of Detroit.
Yeah.
Because
like
I
a lot.
can't imagine that. I know that it was bad at one point, but I can't imagine that it was like that bad. Because otherwise, wouldn't the government have done something? I don't know.
No,
Maybe not.
they
Our
don't do
government's
anything.
useless.
I was about to
Yeah.
say
It's good.
Flint, Michigan still doesn't have water.
True.
So
That's true.
anybody else? Any in chat? Feel free to put anything in there about like what really chapped your ass about this movie. And
And
because I
if
know
it's
some of
just
you did not.
seeing Jinx's booty hole, Get over it.
Yeah,
I
seriously,
live
get
with
over it.
this.
She lives with that booty hole
Yep.
every day.
I wake up in the morning and he's just like, hi. What chapped Jinx's ass? Nothing. He sat with me and he watched this along with my other cat. I watch so much horror that they don't react to sounds on the TV anymore. They used to. They used to react to
What's your other cat's name?
Juniper.
Juniper. Jinx and Juniper.
Juniper grew up on the streets, so like she's fine.
So she would survive in Detroit.
Yes. She would be like that little white snowball Gabriel, which also, what a biblical name for a cat.
Yeah.
I'm very, very glad that they did not kill the cat in the movie. Because I know, like, when Alyssa told me that she was like, yeah, Cody said that I shouldn't watch this movie. And I was just like, if a dog or a cat dies, I will have words to say to you. But he didn't. He survived.
Yeah.
Everything's
No,
fine.
you don't. The crow did.
The crow
Not-
did, which
It
is
did.
fine.
It got hurt. It got hurt, but
I did also appreciate that they added in the rhyme about crows, because I always heard that growing up. My mom used to say that all the time. And then so many people, when I tell them that, they're like, what in the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, 1 for sorrow, 2 for joy, 3 for a girl, 4 for a boy. And they're just like, what? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's fine.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, I think it's an Appalachia thing, to be totally honest. Like, if you see crows, then it's like the number of crows like tells you what's going to
Oh.
be coming in your life. So yeah, 1 for sorrow. And like, that makes sense that the 1 is going around all the time. 1 for sorrow,
Yeah.
2 for joy, 3 for girl, 4 for boy. It goes on to like up to 10, I think,
Interesting.
but I don't remember it all.
Somebody said that they think this is 1994 Super Mario Brothers movie. It's not quite that bad, but it's a pretty bad movie that got a crazy cult following.
Interesting. I feel like I didn't hear anything about the Super Mario Brothers movie once, like, Chris Pratt is going to be Mario, and then I heard nothing after that. It was just like,
Well,
oh.
this is talking about the Super Mario Brothers from 1993 with John Leguizamo, the live action one, which is pretty bad.
That sounds
This is
terrible.
It's a pretty bad movie. Everybody should watch it. It's pretty bad though. Were the best music moment, score recognition, anything that you wanted to?
The music didn't stick out to me in this one.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I think I liked that they included like the very like goth rock scenes and stuff like that. But again, I kind of feel the same way about that I do with like fight scenes. That is the auditory overstimulation. Just, like, there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
What do I focus on?
This soundtrack went triple platinum though.
Really?
Crazy. Yeah. This was a classic soundtrack from the time. 9 Inch Nails has a good song on here. Stone Temple Pilots song Big Empty. This was the first time that was put out there. Violent Femmes have a really good song on this soundtrack. So
Okay.
if you're into that kind of music or industrial or I don't even know what else you would call some of this. But I was talking to Spencer, and now he's into this kind of music. So
nice. It makes me feel so much like an old lady who's like, that just sounds like noise to me, but it does. I'm sorry. It sounds
goth
like noise
garbage. Yeah, I could see goth garbage being being a genre. Let's see. I'll give you a fuck, marry, kill.
Ooh, okay.
I wasn't gonna choose the gang members because fuck those guys.
Oh no.
We'll go with Eric,
Okay.
Albrecht, and
Oh.
Top Dollar.
Ooh.
I can do that.
Ooh. Oh no. Wait, Eric alive or Eric dead?
Eric the Crow.
Eric as the Crow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, fuck him.
Okay.
Not fuck him, but I would fuck him.
Yeah, but I get you. I'll get you.
Sorry. Jinx just freaked out and like got caught on my jeans. So I'd fuck him. I'd marry Albrecht because he's like, he gives off such like dad vibes to me. And then obviously kill Top Dollar. I think like if I chose to fuck Top Dollar, I'd end up like that lady and just be dead. Also, I'm not into incest.
Oh, yeah. He's only into
Not
He's
to
only
yuck
into
anybody
his
else's yum,
sisters.
but like incest is a no for me.
I don't know. Yeah, I do agree. I think that I think I'm marrying Albrecht too, mostly
Yeah.
because everybody should go Google right now. Ernie Hudson today. The man is 78 years old. Was just in a Ghostbusters movie. Dude's fucking
He was.
hot. He
Oh, okay.
looks great.
I'm looking him up right now. Ernie Hudson. Oh, damn. Holy shit.
78 years old. I showed that to my parents
78?
yesterday, and they were like, "We look like shit compared to him." So
His arms are the size of his face. That's wow.
yeah, he looks great.
Good
Good for Ernie Hudson. I
for Ernie.
won't be around at 70, but
I
could
don't expect to be either.
I
yeah.
could only wish to be that at 70. All right, who gave the best performance in the movie? And it is okay to be obvious.
Brendan Lee.
Yeah.
Brendan
Brendan
Lee.
Lee.
Close second would be Top Dollar.
Okay, I'm glad that you appreciate Michael Wincott because I love that man.
He was good, and also, again, when I was checking him out on IMDb and all that, he voiced the villain in the 2002 masterpiece that is Treasure Planet.
Oh,
He's the Spider Psycho guy.
Very
Scroop,
cool.
Mr. Scroop. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, okay. So I was like, so you've been typecast, but it's a very effective typecast to just be like the most villainous villain we could ever make.
I particularly like Michael Wincott. He was in last year. We watched the Three Musketeers, the Disney Three Musketeers. He's one of the villains in that movie. But I know him mostly from Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which is the Kevin Costner Robin Hood. He plays the Guy Gisborne, I think, is the character he's playing in that movie. But he's wonderful in that.
Is he a villain there too? Has this guy ever played a nice guy?
He was. I don't know if he has ever been a good guy. No, he was in the Nope. Like 2 years ago, Jordan Peele's
I never saw that, which I should. But
it's great. I love Nope. But he plays they hire a cameraman, director, and he plays that character in that movie. So it was nice to see him because I hadn't seen him in a long, long time. And it was nice to see him show up in something like that. So some love for Michael Wincott and his wonderful, raspy, deep voice.
Yes.
Love that.
Yes. And he really did. Like, he pulled off the hair. Not many people can pull off hair like that, but he did. He made it work.
I hope everybody has seen Nope. I see somebody saying that some love for Nope, to be honest. Yeah, go see Nope. Nope is great. I really love that movie. Okay. If you could recast this movie, you could either do some 94 recast or you could do 2024 recast. Who would you choose?
So this one was so difficult for me. And then when I looked at the new one that's coming out and they're like Bill Skarsgård as the Crow, and I was like, yep, perfect. That's perfect. I don't even know. Would I just recast 78-year-old Ernie Hudson back in his role? Kinda. But
Maybe.
As 78-year-old him, yeah. It was, and honestly, I genuinely don't even know about the bad guys like T-Bird and Skank and all of them. You have to find somebody smarmy and weaselly. I don't know if there is somebody like that. We have too many golden retriever-esque actors.
I say that all the time. I say that all the time on here because I'm like, everybody's too cute.
Yeah. Where did the Skeet Ulriches go?
Yes. Where are those guys? And they can't all be Timothée Chalamet.
And he's not, okay? I know that he's got a rat face, but he's a golden retriever. He's a golden retriever.
Yeah, he is. Boy. You're right.
He just has a pinched nose. That's it.
Everybody's too old. So, I really like the Bill Skarsgård thing. Do you think Johnny Depp would have been a good person in this, in 94? 94 Johnny Depp.
Yes. 94 Johnny Depp would have made a good one. And I also do think Skeet Ulrich would have been a good one too.
Skeet would have been a really good Keanu. Those guys all have the same
90s Matthew Lillard as Skank.
Ooh, yeah, there you go. I like that.
That could work. Maybe that's why I couldn't like think. I was only thinking about recasting in today's actors, and they're all just too clean cut. But '90s Matthew Lillard could have played Skank pretty easily. I feel like.
Do you know who the actor Dane DeHaan is?
No.
He was in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and he plays Harry Osborn, or he's the green. He ends up being the Goblin in one of
Oh,
those.
I'm looking at a picture of him. Those are
Okay.
some under eye bags. Sure.
Yes,
He looks
he
like
gives me
he's
the
super
same
sick.
like Bill Skarsgård thing. Like he kind of
Yeah.
has that same vibe to him. Austin Butler maybe could pull this off.
Maybe.
After seeing what he looks like in Dune 2 and everything, I'm a little bit more convinced that he could do this. So
The one that I could think of, and I can't remember if her name is Grace McKenna or McKenna Grace. I think it's Grace McKenna.
Yeah, I think
For
you're right.
Sarah.
Ooh,
I feel like she can play
yeah,
Sarah pretty well.
I love her. She's
Yeah.
great. I hope.
Like
Yeah,
after Hill House, she can play any brooding little kid. Like
yeah.
she's perfect for it.
She busts ghosts all the time.
Is
She's
she
in those new Ghostbusters. She's the girl with the brown curly hair. It doesn't look anything like her. It's crazy.
No, it doesn't. She's got like I'm used to seeing her like this color hair.
Yeah. Everybody should check out Haunted House by McKenna Grace. It's a great song.
Wait, she's a musician too?
Yeah. Haunted House by McKenna Grace. Great song.
Haunted
Check it out.
House. Okay. Is it Ghostbusters vibes?
It is. It plays at the end of the newest Ghost, but not the newest one, but the new series of them. It's in the credits.
Well,
but-
like Paul Rudd, right? Paul Rudd's in
yeah,
that too?
Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon, all those people. So it's okay, but that song's a banger in my opinion.
Excellent. I'll have to give that a check.
Also, hey, Lakeith Stanfield, anybody? He could be a good
Okay.
pro.
That would be so cool. Holy shit, you just blew my mind. I love Lakeith Stanfield.
Hell yeah.
Like he was the only good part, in my opinion, of the remake of Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
He would be so good. Holy shit.
I
Yes,
love Lakeith Stanfield.
That. Let's
Oh.
take out Bill Skarsgård, put Lakeith Stanfield in, reshoot the whole thing.
Reshoot the whole thing. They've got experience doing reshoots, so
God.
the rest
Did
in
we
peace.
hear anything about this reshoot being similarly cursed?
No, I haven't heard anything. It was in kind of like development hell for a long time, and then they eventually did this. That's a great cast right there. Somebody in chat says James Franco as top dollar.
Ooh, chat. Holy
That's
shit.
really good.
That's interesting. I like
And
that.
Spencer, you can shut up. I talk about Lakeith Stanfield all the time, and I have met Lakeith Stanfield before. That's like
Everybody can
the
have a
most famous.
celebrity crush, Cody. It's fine. Own it. Own it.
But yes, I have met him, drank a beer with him. We're cool.
Cool
Whatever.
guy.
It's my claim to fame. It's the only cool thing I've got going. So
I
let
feel
me
that.
have
I
it.
get it. I get it.
Did you do any research or anything?
Like into this movie?
Yeah,
No.
it's okay if you didn't.
I was fully like, I'm gonna let Cody tell me everything. I'm just gonna watch it. I'm gonna vibe.
Perfect. Somebody
I mean,
asked me what
obviously.
beer I drank with Lakeith Stanfield. It was a PBR.
Did Lakeith
Does it-
Stanfield have a PBR?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was drinking
don't-
PBR too.
Does that make me respect him more or less?
He was a kid. Like he was 21 when he was drinking this. So.
So you met him a while ago.
Oh yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
This is before he blew up,
PBR.
so he wasn't super. Whatever. Look, not a bitch for drinking PBR. You're a bitch for not drinking PBR.
Tell him. Get him, Cody. Get him.
I'll send you a scene after we're done with this and tell you how I feel about PBR. Okay, so let me go into some of the research that I did. We already talked about kind of how this movie was cursed and everything. So let's just do some more fun facts. Brandon Lee was unhappy with the way that his face paint looked when the makeup department applied it to him.
Huh.
They agreed, him and the filmmaker agreed, if he would apply his own makeup and then sleep in his makeup that night so that it would look more naturally worn. So thought that was pretty cool. Excuse me.
Interesting. I loved the fact that they showed him putting the makeup on. I thought that you know what? That might be the most ridiculous scene in the movie. Because it's like if you are that focused on revenge, you're gonna take time to put on makeup.
Yeah. Also, why does she have white foundation?
Listen, I
You
have
put
white
on makeup.
foundation.
I get it.
I
That's
have
why I
white
need you to tell me.
But I only have white foundation because I did Beetlejuice for Halloween last year. So, and like the foundation that he was putting on, that is grease paint foundation. That is heavy, that is uncomfortable, and you can't really move your face. So the movie does not match up with the reality. Like the makeup that he ends up with actually, and he's like moving his face around a lot. I'm like, that's not grease paint. It'd be cracking. It would be so much grosser.
Yeah.
Which maybe would have fit the like feeling of the movie more. I don't know. But you definitely can't sleep in grease paint. It would get all over your pillow.
Interesting. See, this is why I need you to help me out whenever I do things.
Well, that's
like
also
this.
why I was like, I could so easily do the makeup in like 30 seconds. I have the white foundation. I've got black lipstick. We're good to go.
I'll tell you,
the white foundation.
I've tried to do makeup myself. Because I went as one of the Insane Clown Posse for Halloween one year, and it is very hard to put on this kind of makeup.
It is.
And I had white face paint and it was very hard. So
yeah,
I get
and
it.
especially well, you know what? In the 90s, I feel like goth culture was like so prevalent that maybe he was a member of the Insane Clown Posse back in the 90s. You don't know.
It fits with Detroit. The ICP is from Detroit. So let's see here. This one goes back to the death of Brandon Lee. So Michael Massey, Fun Boy. It was actually Fun Boy that shot him. That caused it. So he stopped acting for a year because he was so traumatized by the incident. He's still never seen the film since then. Oh, he actually died in 2016, but he had never watched the film, and he didn't do a ton of acting after this, but it was something that he was still traumatized
I can't blame
by.
him for that at all. I wouldn't either. I'd be like, no, I don't want to see that. Like, ugh.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Tough. The line about Shelley, I think I mentioned this earlier. Believe me, nothing is trivial. That wasn't in the script. That was ad-libbed by Brandon Lee. Good for him.
So he was like an actual like sweet guy too.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Yeah,
thanks, Cody. I'm gonna go cry.
You're welcome. Even though the movie, based on the comic, is called The Crow, none of the birds in the film are actually crows. All of them are ravens, which have a much larger, which are much larger than crows and have a longer, more impressive beak.
I think that they can also be trained a lot easier.
Well, I think in one of the crows that they used, or one of the ravens that they used, was actually in all of the other sequels to this movie. So like the 4 or the 3 sequels that this movie had all had the same raven in them.
Have you ever seen a raven in real life?
I mean, no.
They're huge.
Not up close.
They're huge.
I kind of want one because they collect things for you.
Those are crows. Well, I mean, ravens
crows?
I think do too, but crows are the ones that like definitely are known for like collecting shiny things. And
yeah, I want one of those.
You can if you have crows around you, you can very easily like trade with them. Like if you start giving them shiny things, they'll bring stuff back to you. Which I think is so cute. But ravens are giant and kind of terrifying.
I want one.
Terrifying.
I'm gonna get one.
All right, for your birthday.
River Phoenix and Christian Slater turned down the role of Eric Draven.
They would have been. Christian Slater would have been a really
River
good.
Phoenix would have been really good too.
But also tragic ending.
Yeah,
there.
Another tragic person in this role.
What the hell?
Let's see. The following scenes were completed after Brandon Lee's death. Eric enters the apartment after digging himself out of the grave. Footage of Brandon Lee walking through an alley in the rain was actually digitally composed into that scene where he walks through the doorway. Computer technology added drops of water to the doorframe to make the water on his back not seem out of place. The shot of Eric falling from the window, I already told you about that one. The scene where Eric is putting on his makeup was filmed using a double. You
never see him. You never see his face there.
The face in the smashed mirror was Lee's, but it was computer altered to fit the shards. Let's see. The image of Eric walking towards the window with the crow on his shoulder was a double. with Lee's face added during lightning flashes. When Sarah visits the apartment, we never see Eric's face as it is a double. So those were the only things that weren't filmed.
Wow.
And there was a body count in this movie of 31 people dying. Most of those people were in the boardroom, I believe.
I feel like there should have been more.
Yeah, there was a lot of people dying. And when I saw that number, I was like, really? 31 people died? I couldn't believe it. I was like, I felt like only 4 people died, but then I remembered. All the people killed by Eric are as retribution by their are killed as retribution by their own sins. So Tintin stabbed with his own knives, Fun Boy by drug overdose because he's a junkie, T-Bird with his car, Skank launched out the window, Micah has her eyes ripped out, Top Dollar on account of all the suffering that he has caused gets all the suffering put into his head, the pain, and then falls. The Gideon, who is the pawn shop owner, gets a sword to the throat.
And you know what? Some chat did mention this when we were talking about standout performances. He did.
Oh, what was good? She gone. She said, "See you later." Somebody, hopefully everything's cool. She gone. That's okay. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. We skipped over the pawn shop owner a little bit, but he was really good, a good character actor that shows up, and he's always kind of like a bad guy or whatever. Hopefully Eric Draven did not just knock at her door. There she is. She's coming back now.
See me. I can't see you. This is hilarious. I still have to sign in.
You're
my
here?
computer just decided to die. Hello.
Oh, that's okay. You're okay.
Everything's fine. But as I was saying, the guy who played Gideon, chef's kiss. He did a great job.
Yeah, he
and
was
chat
really
did
good.
call that out.
They're not always right, but yeah, we'll give it to him. Okay, so if we're coming to the close of this, so that's okay. Out of 5, if you could give this a rewatchability score, what would you give it?
Like 4.5 to 5.
Yeah.
And obviously you've rewatched it a ton, so.
Oh yeah, I've seen this movie a lot. I gave it a 4 out of 5 for that, so kind of high too. If you had to give it an overall star rating of 1 to 5, what would you give it?
I'm gonna say like maybe 3.5 or 4, and I'm gonna say that because I did have to like actively suspend my disbelief for some of the things that were happening. I was just like, there was first the whole like, where are we? This cannot be a real city anywhere.
Yeah.
And then the like, just there were so many things that I was just like, this, if you're not in the right mindset, this is the cheesiest thing you've ever heard.
Yeah.
So you have to be in the right mindset. So a little less just because of that.
I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think I have a little bit of nostalgia for it because I did watch it so much when I was a kid. I do think that the plot is a little thin at times, and you can tell like once you have all that knowledge of like, oh, they had to reshoot and they had to take some stuff out, it is a little thin. Like, we don't know why or what crow powers there are or what like we get very little information about that. The dialogue's not always there, but it is an action movie, so that it is excused a little bit with that. But overall, I gave it a 4. I love this movie so much.
Yeah. I wonder, and I hope that in the remake that they like kind of fix some of those things. I do feel like a lot of times with the remakes that are coming out, they do add to like the stories a little bit. And sometimes I feel like that's not necessary because like the original already had everything that you needed. But in this one, I feel like that could be very helpful.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully they dedicate it to Brandon Lee too. That would be pretty cool.
They did. They dedicated this one.
They dedicated this one to Brandon Lee. I would like them to,
That makes so much sense now because they said like for Brandon and somebody else. I don't know who the other person was, but I was
that was his fiance.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So, Like a Fine Wine and Dish. If you could pair this with another movie for a double feature, what would you choose?
I would choose. and dealer's choice, a Batman movie, either the really like campy Tim Burton one,
Mhm.
and I can never remember. Is that Batman Returns?
Batman and Batman Returns are both.
Okay, I'd say Batman, or the Dark Knight.
Okay. I actually put down the newest Batman with Robert Pattinson on here.
Okay, yes,
It's
that
super
too.
moody and like
Yes, that
gothic.
one I feel like they could have cut out an hour of that movie and it still
Yeah.
would have been fine. Holy shit, that movie's long. I saw that in theaters. Oh.
Also a very hard I'm glad you saw it in theaters. I saw it in theaters too. That is a hard movie to watch on your TV at home because it
I
is
bet.
dark. Like
Yeah,
you can't see anything in that movie.
it's a good
Um,
point.
But yeah, no, Batman, very, very good. I also John Wick, I think, was mentioned earlier.
Mm,
Another revenge movie, one man
mhm.
kind of taking on everything.
That makes sense. I've
Keanu,
never seen John Wick, so I wouldn't know.
don't kill a man's dog. That's all I have to say.
Fair. I think that's why I haven't. I'm just like, because I would sympathize way too much with him, and I'd be like, yeah, I would kill all those people too.
I'd kill everybody too. Yeah,
Everyone.
Kill Bill if you're
Ooh.
another revenge kind of movie.
Mhm.
For the aesthetic, I said The Craft. Have you ever seen The Craft?
No, which is wild given how I'm currently dressed.
I was about to say you look like you came right out of The Craft.
But I know that is on my list. I feel like that's going to be on my list. I feel like I'm going to do 31 Nights at Halloween again this year. And I feel like I have to add The Craft to that.
Yeah,
Because
it's
there are so
Gothic
many movies that I
Heathers.
like haven't seen yet. I'm like, that's a good one.
Yeah, Gothic Heathers is the best way to say that is.
mm.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Tori, thank you so much. T-Bird, thank you so much
You're so welcome,
for
Top
doing
Dollar.
this. Have you seen anything recently that you want to tell people about, or?
Yeah, actually, I did. I saw Civil War, the new A24 movie. It was not what I was expecting from A24, but at the same time, I did leave the theater feeling like I had just watched an A24 movie, like a little bit disconcerted, a little bit not at ease with myself, which I think is perfect for this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I wasn't really like when I was right after I watched it, I was like, that was not what I was expecting, because I was expecting it to be a little bit more political and like cerebral political, and it was much more like, this is the reality of war. And it's like, oh, okay. But it's good, and Kirsten Dunst gives an amazing performance in that movie, I think. And so does, I totally forgot the other actress's name, but she played Priscilla in Priscilla.
Okay.
So it was like a wild jump for her to go from Priscilla to Civil War.
I used to know her name. I cannot think of what Kaylee Spaney or Spinney.
Yes.
Yeah.
She did a really, really good job too. And then other than that, I watched Has Been Hotel, and I fucking love that show.
Okay. That's a cartoon on Prime,
Yes.
right?
That is a cartoon one. It's and I know chat's gonna get on me for this because it's another musical recommendation. It is a cartoon musical set in hell, but again produced by A24.
Okay.
It is good. It's a good
You
time.
love you some A24 stuff.
I love A24.
We got some A24 people in the chat, so they can relate.
It's a
So,
good time.
very good. So Civil War, Has Been Hotel.
Mhm.
I have been slacking on my movie watching lately. The only thing
Yeah.
I've seen that's been any good is a movie called New Rose Hotel, some 90s movie, 98,
Love that.
Abel Ferreira movie. But it does have Christopher Walken and Willem Dafoe in it.
Oh my god. How can you
So-
have two of those heavy hitters in one film
Yeah.
and it didn't explode?
I was thinking after watching, I was like, man, these guys missed an opportunity. They should have been in way more movies together. They're great.
Yeah.
So, well, again, T-Bird, Tori, thank you so much for being on here. I really appreciate it, and we'll have you on again very soon. So,
Yes.
thank
Can't
you
wait
for
for
that.
Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Next week's movie, however, is going to be taking a little bit of a turn. It doesn't necessarily relate to the sci-fi, but it kind of does a little bit. Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone, Quentin Tarantino written movie. So we'll be doing that next Sunday. It is currently only streaming on video on demand, so you'll have to purchase this one unless you have some other way around it or you own it. And we'll be doing that stream next Sunday at 5 p.m. Also, don't forget, if you want to join us this week, we're not doing it Wednesday because I'm actually going to see a movie this Wednesday. What movie am I seeing this
Yeah,
Wednesday?
what movie are you seeing?
Challengers.
Oh,
I'm seeing a special early
okay.
preview of that. So
Oh.
I'm watching Challengers this week. Yeah. It's
Nice.
gonna be great. Little date night. It's gonna be nice. We'll be doing our Let's Get Animated special episode this week where we're talking about Swan Princess, Thumbelina, Troll in Central Park, and the Page Master. So do join us for that one if you want to. Other than that, this has been 52/1994. We'll see you next week.